scrap space vehicle rebuilt by a human mechanic. Now it's a galactic weapon. It wasn't of people or animals, but of ships, dead hulks of spacecraft, broken satellites, and alien vessels long forgotten. Most beings who drifted past called it useless junk, too dangerous or decayed to matter. But to Jaren Core, a human mechanic with rough hands, grease-stained clothes, and a mind that always saw possibility, it was treasure. Jaren's small salvage craft drifted silently among the wrecks, its metal hull patched in dozens of places with spare parts scavenged over years. Inside, Jaren hummed a tune from old Earth songs, the sound scratching through the engine hum. He was alone, as usual. Humans were rare out here. Most humans preferred the crowded, chaotic starports near populated systems. Jaren preferred isolation. Out here, no one told him what he could or could not do. His eyes scanned the drifting wrecks. Some were simple freighters, others warships of alien empires that had disappeared centuries ago. He moved from ship to ship, testing hulls, feeling vibrations through his fingers. Most were worthless, most. Then he saw it. Half buried in a pile of twisted metal was a vessel unlike any other. It was sleek, angular, almost organic in design. Its hull shimmered faintly, a color that seemed to shift depending on the light. Jaren frowned. He had seen hundreds of ships in his life, but this felt alive. He carefully maneuvered his salvage craft closer. The hull bore the marks of battle, scars, burn marks, and missing panels, but it wasn't destroyed. Its engines, though cold and silent, seemed intact. The cockpit was sealed with a strange locking system he didn't recognize. A faint blue glow pulsed from deep within the ship, almost like a heartbeat. Jaren's heart raced. "This isn't junk," he whispered to himself. This is something else." For days he worked on the vessel. He rigged his salvage ship's grapples to lift panels, tested the hull's integrity, and cautiously entered the cockpit. Inside, the ship's controls were unlike anything he'd ever seen. Alien symbols that shifted when he looked directly at them, touch screens that responded to his thoughts, and energy conduits that hummed faintly. But humans were nothing if not stubborn. Jaren began to study the systems, using a combination of intuition, trial and error, and sheer stubbornness. He had no guide, no manual, no help. Just him, his tools, and his determination. Then he found the hidden compartments. At first he thought they were storage bays, but they were more than that. Weapons, energy cells, and modules of alien technology filled the secret spaces. Some were so advanced, he didn't understand them at all. But one thing he could feel: power. This ship could destroy planets, or protect them. News travels fast in the Xylar cluster. Local gangs of scavengers and small-time pirates had been watching Jaren for weeks, curious about his unusual activity. When rumors spread about what he found, curiosity turned to greed. One night, as Jaren was configuring a propulsion module, his sensors picked up approaching vessels. 3 small ships, fast, armed, and looking for trouble. "They're going to try to take it," Jaren muttered. He barely had time to think before the ships opened fire. Small energy pulses pinged against the ship's hull. Jaren ducked behind a console, pulling levers and twisting wires. But here's the thing about humans, and especially Jaren: when cornered, they improvise. He activated the ship's external modules, some of which weren't even intended as weapons. Cargo bays opened, releasing scrap and debris, which the attackers miscalculated and flew directly into. Energy conduits sparked, creating blinding flashes. By the time the pirates realized what was happening, Jaren had already pulled the ship into a narrow crevice of the debris field, disappearing from sight. When the attack ships finally escaped, damaged and confused, Jaren exhaled. He had survived, but the encounter left him thinking. The ship wasn't just powerful, it was adaptive. It seemed to respond to his decisions, almost as if it could anticipate danger. Over the next few weeks, Jaren devoted himself entirely to the ship. He replaced broken circuits with his own designs, rewrote alien code into something the ship could understand, and slowly brought its systems online. He learned how to communicate with its AI, discovering a consciousness within the ship. It wasn't human, wasn't alien, just intelligent. It called itself Arcanes. "Do you understand me?" Jaren asked one night, watching the control panels glow softly. "Yes," came a soft, modulated voice. "You are unusual. Most operators do not survive initial contact." Jaren chuckled. "I'm human, we're stubborn." The AI hummed, almost amused. Jaren realized that Arcanes wasn't just a ship. It was a weapon, a tool, a companion, and perhaps the deadliest creation in the galaxy if fully activated. But it didn't know how dangerous it could be. Only Jaren could guide it. Then came the night he powered it up for the first time. The engines roared to life, not with a violent blast but with a deep, resonant hum that vibrated through the hull. Lights flickered across the panels, systems came online, and a holographic warning blinked before him. "Weapon status, active, capable of planetary destruction." Jaren froze. He stared at the warning, then at the stars outside the cockpit. The galaxy, so vast and indifferent, suddenly felt smaller, infinitely smaller. One man had just woken a sleeping giant, and somewhere deep in the Xylar cluster, unseen eyes watched. Empires long thought extinct, criminal syndicates hungry for power, and even the Galactic Council, far away, would feel the tremor of what Jaren had done. For Jaren, though, the choice was clear. He had found something incredible. Something that could change the balance of power in the galaxy, and he would not let it fall into the wrong hands. He leaned forward, gripping the controls. "Let's see what you can do," he said to Arcanes. The ship pulsed in response, almost eagerly. And in that moment, floating among the drifting wrecks, Jaren Core and his ship became a single force, unpredictable, unstoppable, and entirely human. Outside, the stars blinked, indifferent yet watchful. But for the first time in centuries, something new had awakened in the Xylar cluster. A human, and a ship unlike any the galaxy had seen. And that was just the beginning. The galaxy never forgets. News of a human mechanic activating a long-dead warship spread faster than light in some places. Across distant star systems, alien empires whispered the name, Jaren Core. They spoke in fear, curiosity, and disbelief. A human, a fragile species by alien standards, had done what no single person had done in centuries, awaken a weapon of unimaginable power. For Jaren, the praise meant nothing. Danger was closer than ever. His small ship, Arcanes, pulsed and hummed beside him as he navigated the empty void. Sensors picked up multiple signals, scout ships, patrols, and even mercenaries sent by empires that believed humans were weak. They had learned too late that they underestimated him. "They're coming," Jaren muttered, fingers tightening on the control panels. Arcanes responded, its internal systems glowing as it prepared for action. The AI's voice was calm, almost amused. "They underestimate you. That is typical." Jaren smirked. "Then let's show them what humans can do." The first encounter came near the Velker Nebula, a dense cloud of ionized gas where light bent strangely, and sensors often failed. Jaren knew the nebula would hide him, at least for a time. The first enemy fleet appeared on the outskirts, a squadron of sleek, predatory alien ships, each armed with rapid-fire plasma turrets and energy shields designed to destroy anything smaller than a planet. They opened fire the moment they saw Arcanes. Pulses of green energy arced through the nebula, lighting the dark void. Jaren's ship dodged, spinning and twisting with precision that no alien craft could match. This was the thing about humans: improvisation. Aliens relied on numbers, predictable attack patterns, and pre-programmed responses. Humans relied on instinct, creativity, and risk. And Jaren was nothing if not daring. He activated a sequence he had been developing in secret. Panels on the ship's hull shifted, creating false energy signatures that made Arcanis appear in multiple places at once. Enemy targeting systems locked onto the wrong coordinates, firing into empty space. Meanwhile, hidden cargo bays released metallic shards that ricocheted off nebula particles, slicing enemy shields and disrupting engines. One by one, the alien ships fell, not from raw firepower, but from cunning, improvisation, and timing. The surviving ships fled, reporting back that the human and his vessel were unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. But this victory only made the galaxy pay closer attention. Within days, larger forces arrived. A patrol from the nearby Thalorian Empire blocked his path, their flagship a massive dreadnought bristling with weapons. Behind it followed dozens of smaller cruisers. Jaren didn't panic. He had spent years in scrap yards, dismantling ships twice his size, and he knew the value of thinking ahead. Arcanis pulsed softly, almost eager, as if sensing its next challenge. "Okay," Jaren muttered, scanning the fleet. "They're big, but they're predictable." He made his move. Using the nebula's dense gas as cover, he darted in and out of visibility. Energy pulses glanced off the hull as he improvised a pattern no alien AI could anticipate. When the flagship fired its massive main cannons, Jaren triggered the ship's energy shields in an irregular rhythm, absorbing and redirecting the blasts back toward the enemy vessels. The flagship shuddered violently. Sparks flew from its hull as shields overloaded. One by one, cruisers were disabled by traps Jaren had set mid-flight, ion nets, energy mines disguised as debris, and even gravitational pulses from the ship's auxiliary drives. It was not brute force. It was human ingenuity. By the time the battle ended, the Thalorian Empire's patrol lay in ruins. Communications intercepted by Jaren revealed panic spreading throughout their networks. Entire alien fleets had begun reporting. "A human, he thinks like a fleet of 10. Jaren felt no pride. He was focused on the future. He had awakened a weapon, yes, but the galaxy had also awakened to him. And that meant danger, real, calculated, unstoppable danger. Days later, he docked briefly at a hidden station in the Ravelli system. It was an abandoned hub, long forgotten by smugglers and governments alike. There he scavenged parts, repaired minor damage, and most importantly, learned more about Arcanis. The AI had begun to adapt. Its systems reconfigured themselves, not only repairing damage automatically but creating new weapons and defenses. Jaren realized that together, they were evolving. Alien technology, when combined with human creativity, produced something new, something the galaxy had never faced before. While Jaren worked, his communications suddenly lit up. A distress signal from a nearby mining colony. The message was short: "Attack, help human fastest ship," and then it cut out. Jaren hesitated. He didn't know who was calling, but humans have a tendency to act when others are in danger. "Let's check it out," he said to Arcanis. The ship responded instantly, engines igniting as they shot through the void. When they arrived, the scene was chaos. Alien raiders had descended on the mining colony, their weapons cutting through structures with terrifying precision. Hundreds of colonists were trapped. The raiders expected an easy target. They did not expect a human. Jaren did not think in terms of numbers. He thought in terms of tactics. Using the asteroid field surrounding the colony as cover, he approached undetected. Then, with precision timing, he released a sequence of energy pulses from hidden ports, disabling enemy shields and engines. Debris from asteroids fell at calculated angles, disabling ships without harming the colony. The raiders scrambled, confused, panicked, and finally fled. Not a single colonist died. Word spread instantly. Humans do not fight like aliens, they fight differently. They anticipate, improvise, and survive in ways no one else could. The victory made the galaxy take notice. Alien fleets, warlords, and empires began to realize a terrifying truth: humans could not be contained. A single human with intelligence, creativity, and a ship like Arcani's could outmaneuver entire fleets. Jaren, however, did not celebrate. He knew the galaxy would respond. Soon far greater forces would hunt him. Soon the Council itself, the distant, powerful body that ruled much of known space, would decide humans were too dangerous to exist unchecked, and he would not go quietly. Weeks passed. Every system they entered, every jump through hyperspace, brought more challenges. Patrols tried to track them, assassins attempted boarding actions, and mercenaries tried to sabotage the ship. Each time, Jaren and Arcanis adapted. Every obstacle became a lesson. Every attack revealed patterns. The humans' unpredictability became their greatest weapon. Aliens, for all their technology and planning, could not foresee the improvisation, the boldness, and the sheer audacity of a human at the controls of a near-godlike ship. Yet somewhere in the shadows of the galaxy, a warning traveled. The Council convened emergency sessions. Reports called it a rogue element with unimaginable power. Fleet commanders argued about whether to contain, negotiate, or destroy. All agreed on one thing: this human was no ordinary threat. One night, as Arcanis drifted near the edge of a black hole's gravitational field, Jaren stared at the stars. He was exhausted but determined. Arcanis pulsed softly beside him, a steady heartbeat in the void. "We're just getting started," he whispered. The AI responded almost approvingly. "Yes," said Arcanis, "but note, the Council will act. They will not allow a single human to disrupt galactic order." Jaren's fingers tightened on the console. "Then we'll show them what order looks like, human style." And with that, the human mechanic and his awakened warship moved through the galaxy like a shadow, leaving only one message for those who dared oppose them: unpredictability is power. The galaxy had seen the signature of humanity, and now it could not unsee it. The galaxy trembled. News of the human mechanic and his ship, Arcanis, had reached the highest levels of the Galactic Council. Ancient, powerful, and feared, the Council had always ruled through fleets, laws, and intimidation. No single being had ever defied them successfully, until now. Reports came from dozens of systems, fleets destroyed without warning, colonies saved in ways no one could predict, and a single human outsmarting the most advanced alien technologies. Panic spread like wildfire. The Council convened in the Grand Hall of Thaler Prime. Holographic images of Jaren and Arcanis floated above the Council floor. Elder Zephyr, a reptilian diplomat known for his icy logic, slammed a clawed hand on the table. "This human must be contained." Zephyrs' voice echoed through the hall. "A single human has destroyed our fleets, embarrassed our admirals, and interfered in multiple systems. We cannot allow this to continue." Another counselor, a tall insectoid named Vrektal, hissed. "Containment will fail. This human fights unlike any species we know. We need eradication, complete eradication." The vote was unanimous. The Council mobilized its fleets, the largest ever assembled in recorded history. Thousands of ships, capital warships, and specialized strike teams were dispatched across the galaxy, all with one mission: destroy the human and his ship. Meanwhile, Jaren floated quietly in the shadow of a dead star, unaware of the scale of what was coming. He had sensed growing danger, yes, but the Council's fleets were beyond imagination. Arcanis pulsed next to him, ready, adaptive, alive. "They're coming," the ship said. Its voice was calm, almost confident. "Many ships, coordinated attack patterns, standard protocols. They do not expect human unpredictability." "Good," Jaren replied. "Then we'll give them a show." The first wave arrived in orbit above Zoreth VII, a mining planet rich in rare metals. Sensors lit up with the incoming ships: 50 warships, 10 destroyers, and a dozen stealth cruisers. They advanced in perfect formation, their tactics precise and rehearsed. Most species would rely on sheer firepower to overwhelm a single ship. But Jaren was not most species. He plotted a course through the asteroid belts surrounding the planet. Arcanes adjusted its shields and engines, using the dense debris to hide from sensors. When the first enemy ship fired, the missiles exploded harmlessly against the rocks. Jaren laughed quietly. "They're predictable," he said, "and humans are creative." As the enemy ships closed in, Jaren triggered the first of many improvisations. Panels on the ship shifted, creating holographic decoys that mimicked Arcanes in size, speed, and heat signature. Missiles locked onto phantoms, detonating uselessly in the void. Then came the booby traps. Hidden modules in the ship's cargo bays activated, releasing high-energy pulses that disabled enemy shields. Gravitational pulses, generated by improvised drives, threw several destroyers into collision courses with each other. Within minutes, 5 enemy ships were destroyed without Arcanes firing a single shot directly. The Council's fleet realized their mistake too late. Alien admirals stared at their viewscreens in disbelief. "How?" one whispered. "How can a single human?" Jaren didn't answer. He didn't need to, his actions spoke for him. Every move was precise, calculated, yet unpredictable. Every trap exploited weaknesses the aliens never knew existed. By the time the first wave retreated, the legend of the human spread further. Pilots who survived reported, "He fights with a mind, not with weapons. He thinks faster than our AI, faster than our fleets. He cannot be beaten by conventional tactics." Jaren, however, was not satisfied. He knew this was only the beginning. The Council would respond, and next time they would come with even larger fleets, more advanced weapons, and no hesitation to destroy. He spent the next few days preparing. Arcanes adapted as he upgraded it. New weapons emerged from previously hidden modules. Shields reconfigured automatically. The ship learned from every encounter, analyzing enemy tactics and improvising countermeasures. Jaren realized something extraordinary. Together, he and Arcanes were evolving faster than the galaxy could comprehend. And then came the challenge, the Council itself. The Council dispatched the dreadnought of Thaler, a massive warship larger than any planet city, bristling with hundreds of weapons and shields designed to survive a supernova. Its fleet consisted of hundreds of supporting ships, all trained to anticipate human tactics. Every admiral knew this was no longer a test. They were hunting a threat to the entire order of the galaxy. Jaren watched the fleet from a distance, calculating. Arcanes hummed beside him, almost like a living being sensing the danger. "They expect a frontal attack," Jaren muttered. "They don't know how humans think." He activated a series of experimental maneuvers, impossible by alien standards. The ship's engines twisted reality with brief bursts of energy, allowing instantaneous directional changes, dodges, and reversals. The Council's fleet opened fire, but their beams struck empty space. Arcanes appeared in multiple locations at once, decoys blending with real ship signatures. Then the real attack began. Using the ship's AI, Jaren predicted the enemy's firing patterns down to milliseconds. He released energy pulses from hidden bays, collapsing shields and overloading systems on enemy cruisers. Mines disguised as asteroids ripped through the fleet. Enemy ships collided or fell out of formation. The dreadnought itself fired its main cannon. Jaren calculated the trajectory, timing, and counterpulse. With a single action, he reflected the energy back, piercing the dreadnought's shields and igniting its engines. Smoke and fire erupted as the massive ship faltered. Arcanes pulsed with satisfaction. "Remarkable," it said. "Your improvisation exceeds any previous encounters." Jaren smiled grimly. "And this is just the beginning." The battle raged for hours. Jaren never stopped, never panicked. Every attack from the Council's fleet was countered with human creativity. Hidden weapons, improvised shields, unpredictable maneuvers, everything worked in harmony with Arcanes. By nightfall, the Council's forces were in chaos. Hundreds of ships were disabled, their crews in shock. The dreadnought lay crippled, drifting in space like a wounded beast. Commanders transmitted urgent reports. The human, we cannot anticipate him. Fleet integrity compromised. Recommend immediate retreat. But Jaren did not pursue. He did not need to. The Council's fleet would spread word and their fear would do the rest. The galaxy was beginning to understand the most dangerous truth about humans. They could not be predicted, contained, or controlled. That night, Jaren floated above a small moon, repairs completed, systems upgraded, and preparations made for the next challenge. Arcanis hummed softly, almost content. They will send more, the AI said. Bigger fleets, more advanced technology. They will not stop. Good, Jaren replied, staring at the stars. Then we'll just have to keep showing them why humans survive, why humans win. He thought about the colonies he had saved, the fleets he had outsmarted, and the legends that now spread across the galaxy. Humans were supposed to be weak, small, insignificant. But here he was, a single human mechanic, standing against the greatest power the galaxy had ever known. And he had won. But Jaren knew the Council would not forget. They would regroup, plan, and strike harder than ever before. The next battle would be bigger, more dangerous, and possibly lethal. Yet he felt no fear, because humans were unpredictable, and unpredictability, he realized, was power. As he plotted their next course, a final alert appeared on the dashboard, a new signal, faster and more precise than anything he had ever seen. A fleet from the core worlds, mobilized by the Council's central command, was jumping into his system. The galaxy's ultimate strike was coming. Jaren tightened his grip on the controls, his jaw set. Arcanis pulsed in agreement. They think they can stop us, he said softly. Let's show them why they are wrong. And with that, the human mechanic and his awakened warship dove into the void once more, ready to face the galaxy's most terrifying force yet, the combined might of the Galactic Council. The stage was set for a war unlike any the galaxy had ever seen. The Galactic Council had never been so certain, or so wrong. Across the core worlds, fleets of unimaginable size assembled. Hundreds of capital ships, thousands of cruisers, and specialized strike teams moved into position. All eyes were on a single target, a human named Jaren Kor and his mysterious ship, Arcanis. The Council believed they held the ultimate power. They were about to learn that humans cannot be measured by size, firepower, or strategy alone. Jaren floated silently in the void beyond the outermost core system, Arcanis pulsing beside him. The AI's sensors scanned the Council fleet, massive, coordinated, well-prepared. Entire tactics had been planned to trap him. Most species would have fled, most species would have surrendered, but humans were not most species. They're here, Jaren said calmly, and they think they can stop us. They are large and well-organized, Arcanis replied. They have anticipated standard maneuvers. They do not anticipate human improvisation. Then let's make them remember it, Jaren said, leaning forward on the controls. The Council's fleet opened fire first. Thousands of energy beams streaked across space, converging on a single point, the human ship. The pulses hit empty space. Jaren had activated a new system he had been developing in secret, quantum displacement drives. Arcanis could appear in multiple locations at once, confusing sensors and targeting systems. The Council fleet faltered instantly. Missiles detonated harmlessly against decoys. Ships collided, unable to track the humans' unpredictable movements. Jaren grinned. Humans always find a way, he said. They don't follow rules, they make them. The first Council dreadnought fired its main cannon, a weapon capable of destroying entire cities in a single blast. Jaren anticipated the shot. With Arcanis' AI guidance, he redirected the energy pulse using the ship's adaptive shields, reflecting it back toward the dreadnought. The massive vessel shuddered as its own weapon tore through its hull. A chain reaction began. One by one, the Council's ships fell, not from brute power, but from misdirection, improvisation, and human strategy. Mines disguised as debris exploded in precise patterns, disabling engines. Gravity pulses through destroyers into collision courses. Laser turrets overloaded when Arcanis manipulated energy flows. Every move was human ingenuity in action. Every strike was unpredictable. Every outcome shocked the galaxy's greatest commanders. Hours passed, and still Jaren fought. The Council attempted coordination, sending new waves, but Arcanis adapted instantly. Its AI analyzed patterns, predicted strategies, and created counters that no alien mind had conceived. Jaren's improvisation was relentless. He was small, fragile, and human, but every decision, every movement, multiplied his power far beyond anything the Council expected. At one point, the Council deployed their ultimate weapon, the Oblivion Array, a massive station designed to annihilate ships instantly. Its energy beams converged on a single target, capable of vaporizing Arcanis in moments. Jaren studied the array, eyes narrowing. "Not if I can help it," he whispered. He maneuvered Arcanis through a series of asteroid fields, using the environment to hide from the array's sensors. Then, in a move no one could anticipate, he redirected a portion of the array's energy back into its core using a reflective pulse sequence. The station erupted in flames, scattering its defenses, leaving the fleet in chaos. For the first time, the Council faltered. Their ships had been carefully planned, their strikes coordinated, their strategy perfected, yet none of it mattered. A single human had turned the battle upside down. Across the galaxy, alien commanders whispered fearfully, "The human, he thinks like 10 fleets, he moves like 10 minds, he cannot be beaten." Jaren did not pause. He did not celebrate. There was still work to do. The remaining Council fleet was fractured, confused, and terrified. Using precise strikes, he targeted command ships first, dismantling communications and forcing the fleet to retreat in disarray. Each victory was surgical, efficient, and utterly human. By nightfall, the once proud Council fleet lay in ruins. Hundreds of ships drifted, disabled or destroyed. Commanders transmitted messages of surrender or desperation. They had learned something terrifying. Size, technology, and planning alone could not defeat human creativity. Jaren floated above the shattered remains of the battle, watching the Council's retreating forces. Arcanis pulsed, almost content. "They will rebuild," the AI said. "They will come again." "They'll learn," Jaren replied. "But humans, we don't just survive, we adapt, we improvise. We win." For the first time, the galaxy saw the full potential of humanity. Not in fleets, not in empires, not in weapons, but in one person's ability to think, create, and act beyond expectation. Jaren set a course for Earth, not for rest, but to prepare. He knew the galaxy would never forget the human who had outsmarted the greatest powers it had ever known. And he also knew this was only the beginning. Weeks later, in orbit around Earth, Jaren docked Arcanis in secrecy. Reports of the Council's defeat had already spread through intercepted communications and survivors' messages. Humans across the galaxy whispered stories of the mechanic who had bested fleets, destroyed dreadnoughts, and humiliated the Galactic Council. Yet Jaren did not seek fame. Fame was dangerous. Recognition drew attention, and attention drew enemies. He walked along the shipyard docks, tools in hand, planning upgrades and improvements, already anticipating the next challenge. For humanity, he knew, had not yet awakened its full potential. Meanwhile, in the Galactic Council chambers, the leaders met in stunned silence. Elder Zypher, his scales bristling, spoke first. "This it cannot be allowed. A single human has undone centuries of order. If we do not act decisively, our authority will collapse." Vrektal, his multifaceted eyes reflecting fear, hissed, "We cannot underestimate humans again. They are beyond our calculations." The Council realized with grim certainty that humanity had crossed a threshold. Humans were no longer a minor species. They were a force, unpredictable, clever, and deadly. Back in space, Jaren and Arcanes drifted silently. The stars stretched infinitely before them, and the galaxy felt both small and dangerous. But humans had something no fleet, no weapon, no council could ever replicate: creativity, adaptability, and courage. Jaren looked at the stars and whispered, "They thought they controlled the galaxy. They thought humans were weak. They were wrong." Arcanes pulsed in agreement. "The galaxy will remember this. They will fear it, they will respect it, they will adapt." "Good," Jaren said, "because the next challenge will be bigger, and we'll be ready." He gazed toward the stars beyond Earth, where countless civilizations waited, unaware that the galaxy had just changed. One human and his ship had altered the balance of power forever, and somewhere deep in the void the first whispers spread. Humanity is not weak. Humanity cannot be controlled. Humanity is unstoppable. The stage was set for the future, and humanity had just claimed its first victory in a war the galaxy didn't yet understand. The legend of Jaren Kor, the human mechanic who rebuilt a scrapped ship into the deadliest weapon the galaxy had ever seen, had only just begun. And this was just the beginning.